Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a fundamental concept that literally governs everything around us: work, energy, and simple machines. Now, we use words like work and energy all the time in everyday conversation, right? You might say you've worked hard studying for a test, or that you have absolutely no energy after a long day. But in the realm of physics, these terms have a surprisingly strict mathematical definition, and we're going to break down exactly what that means.
Let me hook you right out of the gate with a kind of counterintuitive question. Imagine you're pushing against a massive, rigid brick wall for hours. You're pushing until your muscles are burning and you are completely, utterly exhausted. Did you actually do any work? Well, your tired arms might be screaming yes, but physics has a very different answer. We're going to challenge some of your basic assumptions about the illusion of physical effort.
Okay, here's our game plan for this explainer. 1. The science of work. 2. When work equals 0. 3. Positive and negative work. 4. Energy as the capacity to do work. And 5. Kinetic energy and motion.
Let's dive right into Section 1, the science of work. So, what is work, scientifically speaking? Here is the absolute core of it. Work done is calculated by multiplying the force applied by the displacement of the object, but specifically in the direction of that force. That's the uncompromising equation. And the unit we use to measure this whole shebang is the joule. 1 joule of work is done when exactly 1 newton of force causes 1 meter of displacement. Basically, if there's no displacement, or if the force doesn't align with the movement, well, the physics definition of work simply isn't met.
And it turns out that work scales perfectly proportionally. Think about lifting a 5-kilogram bag of wheat to a certain height. That requires a very specific amount of upward force to counter gravity. But if you lift 3 of those 5-kilogram bags together to that exact same height, you obviously have to apply 3 times the force over the same distance. Therefore, you are doing exactly 3 times the work. It's really that straightforward. More force over the same distance equals proportionally more work.
Moving right along to Section 2, when work equals 0.
Let's resolve that opening question about the wall. If you push a wall and the displacement is 0, the work done is mathematically 0, period, regardless of your muscular fatigue. You're burning internal bodily energy, sure, but you're doing absolutely no scientific work on the wall itself. Interestingly, work is also 0 if the force is perpendicular to the displacement. Imagine carrying a heavy box while walking forward horizontally. You're applying an upward force to hold the box against gravity, but the box is moving horizontally. Because that upward force is completely perpendicular to the horizontal displacement, the scientific work done by you on the box is 0. Crazy, right?
All right, Section 3, positive and negative work.
So, because direction matters so much, work can actually be described using a positive or negative sign. Positive work happens when the displacement is in the exact same direction as the applied force. Think of pushing a friend in a wheelchair, forward. Negative work, however, occurs when the displacement is in the opposite direction to the applied force. It sounds a bit abstract, I know, but it's an incredibly common occurrence.
Let's bring this to life with an example. Picture a goalkeeper stopping a fast-moving soccer ball. To stop it, she has to apply an outward force against the ball, let's say 200 newtons. But the momentum of the ball is so strong it still pushes her hands backward by, say, 15 centimeters, or 0.15 meters. Because her force pushes outward while the actual displacement goes backward, those directions are opposite. We do the math by multiplying 200 newtons by negative 0.15 meters, and we get exactly negative 30 joules. She did negative work to slow that ball down.
Which brings us to Section 4, energy, the capacity to do work.
So what actually is energy? Well, it's defined simply as the capacity to do work. An object that possesses energy has the ability to exert a force and cause displacement. They're 2 sides of the same coin. And because they are so intimately connected, energy shares the exact same standard unit as work, the joule. Named, of course, after the brilliant scientist James Prescott Joule, who was the one who really nailed down the deep connection between mechanical work and thermal energy.
And this deep connection gives us one of the most absolutely crucial rules in all of physics, the work-energy theorem. It basically states that work done on an object appears as a change in its energy. It means that if you do positive work on an object, like throwing a baseball, you increase its energy. If you do negative work on it, like our goalkeeper catching a ball, you decrease its energy. Work is literally the mechanism for transferring energy from one thing to another.
Think about a game of carom, or billiards if you're more familiar with that, to see this energy transfer in action. When the moving striker hits a coin, it applies a forward force on the coin, displacing it forward. The striker does positive work, which increases the coin's energy. But, thanks to Newton's third law, the coin pushes back on the striker with an equal and opposite force. Since the striker is moving forward but the coin's force on it is backward, the coin does negative work on the striker, draining the striker's energy. In a split second, energy is seamlessly transferred through simultaneous positive and negative work. It's perfectly balanced.
Finally, Section 5, Kinetic Energy and Motion.
Kinetic energy is just the mechanical energy an object possesses strictly due to its motion. Whether it's a speeding car on the highway or a tennis ball flying over a net, if it has mass and it's moving, boom, it has kinetic energy. And thanks to our work energy theorem, we know for a fact that if an object starts from a dead stop, the kinetic energy it gains is exactly equal to the total work done on it by a force to get it moving.
Let's do a quick, step-by-step mathematical narrative to see how beautifully everything connects here. How do we calculate kinetic energy? Step 1, we pull a standard kinematic equation that relates velocity, acceleration, and displacement. Step 2, we remember our core definition of work. Work equals force times displacement. Step 3, we bring in Newton's famous second law. Force equals mass times acceleration. And step 4, we just mix them all together. The terms merge like a giant puzzle to give us the final formula for the change in kinetic energy. 1/2 mass times final velocity squared minus 1/2 mass times initial velocity squared. It is so fascinating to see these fundamental laws interlock perfectly.
Before we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to test your brand new understanding of energy transfer. Imagine a stack of coins sliding across a rough table. Friction is obviously slowing them down, right? So is the work done by friction on those coins positive, negative, or zero? Think really carefully about the direction of the friction force relative to the actual displacement of the coins. If you realize that friction always opposes motion, literally draining the coin's kinetic energy, well, you already know the mathematical sign of that work. Keep looking out for these unseen forces at work all around you, and I will